Welcome to Exploring Cultural Motivation, a case study on the fascination with the Korean language. My name is María José Salinas, a PhD student, and with my mentor María Elena Gómez Parra, we want to introduce you to our research in cultural motivation and its relation to language learning. We will start with a theoretical backdrop, then we will proceed to explain the methodology and the results, and finally, we will speak about the discussion and conclusions, and of course, we will provide references. The relation between language and culture is undeniable and has been widely studied by experts throughout the years. As stated here by Brown, 1994, a language is a part of a culture, and a culture is a part of a language. The two are intricately interwoven, so that one cannot separate the two without losing the significance of either language or culture. When learning or teaching a second language, we should strive to include culture as part of our curriculum because you cannot have one without the other. So, what do we know about culture and language when it comes to language learning? It has been widely recognized in the language teaching profession that learners need to not just knowledge and skill in the grammar and of a language, but also the ability to use the language in socially and culturally appropriated ways. So basically, students need to know the culture, need to know how it works in real life, and that is something that they can find throughout culture, not only throughout language. Even though there might be some people or some students that they don't see the how culture can play a role in language learning. Here we have a quote from Crumbs that is really significant. Yet others, indeed a majority of learners of English around the world, are keen on learning the language precisely because it gives them access to a culture that they admire and a lifestyle they aspire to. So basically, they are motivated by culture, by something that they already love. And we think this is the case for Korean. As here you can see, what is motivation? Motivation is what moves a person to make certain choices, to engage in action, to expend effort and persist in action. So basically, what sparks that little fire in you, that little flame that is going to help you throughout your journey. This is by Dorney. And as we can see with the Korean culture and the Korean wave, there is a phenomena that is taking part of the media and is a powerful tool for teachers. We can see here by Young, uh, as K-pop, Korean popular music, gains global popularity, a growing number of students want to learn Korean as a foreign language. K-pop is their major motivation in learning Korean, but it can be a great tool to learn Korean too. So basically, we can see here that there are certain languages that are being learned because people are in love with their culture, with part of their culture. But what is cultural motivation? Cultural motivation is a new term supported by the literature, which describes a desire to learn a new language because of the student's appreciation of the traditions, customs, aesthetics, history, or lifestyle of a community, of a country. This term describes a scenario where the students learn first about certain culture and then, because of their desire to keep learning about it and its people, they start learning the language as well. So it's a continuation of their love for the culture. To sum up, this study will find out if the 5 participants interested in learning Korean as a second language are culturally motivated by discerning when and how these students discovered the Korean culture. We also analyze which factors from the Korean culture motivate them and whether language is one of these factors. The specific objectives of this study are to find out when and how participants discovered Korean culture, to find out what factors of Korean culture motivate participants, to find out whether language is one of the motivating factors, and finally, to find out the motivation of non culturally motivated participants to learn Korean as an L2. So, about the methodology, the type of the study. This research is a case study of 5 Korean as a second language learners, where qualitative data will be gathered from an online interview to participants. Interviewers will focus on their experiences and perceptions towards the Korean language and culture. Then we have the participants. We have 5 participants that were selected from a snowball sampling method due to their interest in learning Korean as a second language and about the Korean culture. The 5 subjects are female, between 20 and 50 years old, and of Spanish nationality. Their academic level are as follows. P1 is enrolled in a bachelor's degree in tourism. P2 has a bachelor's degree in advertising and PR. P3 is enrolled in a bachelor's degree in fashion design. P4 is a PhD. And P5 is doing vocational training. All participants speak English and 4 speak at least another language. Then we have the research design. It starts by addressing the main problem or issue. The motivation for students to learn Korean seems to differ from those who want to learn a majority language. Majority language in the sense of English that is international nowadays and is used in schools and is used in the internet everywhere. Next, selection of participants was made through a snowball sampling method, as we have already said, according to their desire to learn Korean. Then the instrument and interview that was designed and validated through a Delphi method. And then data gathered were analyzed through content analysis methodology by considering the objectives of the study, the main goals. What about the instrument? The instrument used for this research is an interview validated through the Delphi process, as we have already said, which has the following sections: demographic data, where we asked things like age, gender, studies, previous studies, and such. Then we have 2 questions about participants' first contact with Korean language, 2 questions on participants' cultural motivation to learn the Korean language, 2 questions on the factors in the culture that motivate participants to learn Korean as a second language. And finally, 2 questions to identify the motivation of non culturally motivated learners to study Korean. But I can already tell you that we didn't find any. Then we can say results. We can start speaking about the results that we obtain. First, we have to speak about the first contact with Korean language that will solve the specific objective 1. Most participants had their first contact through friends or partners. For example, P1, thanks to a friend who liked both Korean music and Korean series. Or P4, the first thing was K-pop music that a friend of mine shared with me in high school. P3 discovered the Korean culture through a magazine. The first factor of the Korean culture for all of them was K-pop and K-dramas, and Taekwondo for P5. Then we have 3.2 3.2 Cultural motivation to learn Korean language. Participant listed K-pop, food, makeup, skincare, K-dramas, fashion, beauty standards, aesthetics, and manhwas as the cultural factors that motivated them to learn Korean culture and language. I will give you one example here from P1. I am most interested in Korean entertainment and music as well as series and films, which I consume on a daily basis. Then we have factors in the culture that motivate participants to learn Korean as a second language. The factors that motivated participants to start were to study bachelor's degree in national studies, uh, to study Korean is, well, P2 said Korean is the language of the content that she consumes the most. Uh, P3 to study fashion design in Korea. So we have a huge variety here. P5 has not studied Korean yet and does not provide further information. Motivation to non culturally motivated learners to study Korean as a second language, even though most participants said that Korean language is one of their reasons to start learning Korean, it is not the first or the main reason for any of them. Cultural discussion and conclusions. Cultural motivation is the reason for students to start learning Korean, and media plays an important role regarding participants' first contact with both Korean language and culture. Language is not identified by participants as the main reason to start learning Korean. Therefore, including culture in the L2 classroom should be a priority for teachers, more so to foster their motivation. These findings encourage further investigations of this phenomenon across diverse cultural backgrounds and age groups to understand why some culturally motivated students do not initiate their language learning journey as we could see with P5. Conclusions underscore the significance of considering culture as a factor influencing a student's motivation to learn a second language. As a result, this study points toward a future research direction centered on a novel methodology where the second culture, rather than the L2, takes precedence in L2 learning, second language learning. Here you can see the reference, and that would be all. Thank you so much. Here you have our contact data, and thank you again.